One of the biggest critiques of the Roblox Classic event was that the games that were selected weren't exactly classic, and to be honest, I never quite agreed with this critique. Now, sure, in hindsight, Roblox probably should have picked some older games such as Natural Disaster Survival or Flood Escape, but newer Roblox games are absolutely capable of portraying what old Roblox used to be. Take, for example, Roblox Doors. The Survive the Draco block through's April Fool's event perfectly encapsulated the aesthetic feel of classic Roblox while still maintaining the general gameplay of Doors. Now at this point, I'm sure we're all tired of Roblox Doors receiving praise. No game is as good as Doors, and we as a community just need to accept that. However, I'm just using it as an example of how a relatively new Roblox game is able to feel classic if the developers put in enough effort. And many of the games chosen for this event did attempt to recapture old Roblox with varying degrees of success. So today, I'm going to be making a tier list of all the games in the classic event by how classic they truly felt. Now for context, I've been playing Roblox since July of 2011, which is nearly 13 years now. I've been on the platform for longer than most, so I think I have enough experience on this platform to accurately rank these games. I'm certainly no 2008 player, but I think I know enough of the platform's history to do this list justice. That being said, this tier list is still my opinion, and I'm sure some of my own nostalgia bias is inevitable, so feel free to share your opinions down in the comments as well. And to clarify, we're not ranking these games based off their gameplay alone. That concept has already been done to death. Although talking about the gameplay will be somewhat inevitable, I might even make some side tangents about my opinions on the gameplay. But for the rankings themselves, we're mainly focusing on aesthetics and references. How classic does this game truly feel? So let's get started with the tier list, starting with the Classic Hub. And I think this one is a no-brainer. For the majority of players, the Classic Hub is the peak highlight of this event, and this tier list is no exception. From the moment I stepped into this hub for the first time, I felt like I was playing the old Roblox from when I was a kid. Everything from the map to the UI felt perfect. This hub is filled to the brim with Easter eggs and references from classic Roblox. And even the 1x1 boss fight, while many people found it underwhelming, it did feel like what a boss fight would feel like in 2011. I especially adore the little UI changes, like the bricks and connections count where you're loading in, and the old save chat that guests were forced to use, and the blue speed bar when you were driving a car, and the click to move controls that led to unique obstacles like invisible paths. I could go on and on about this hub, but I think you guys get the idea. This game is absolutely deserving of its S tier ranking, and it only goes downhill from here. So let's move on to the games themselves, starting with Blade Ball. Now, for many people making gameplay tier lists, Blade Ball was easily at the bottom of the list with its long and tedious quest grinding. But again, for this tier list, we're looking at how well it portrays classic Roblox. And at a glance, it doesn't really seem to do anything at all. You simply need to finish a handful of quests, which is mainly done by playing the game normally. However, there is one saving grace of this game, which is the 1x1 boss fight. You fight him on the good old sword fight on the Heights map, which is a game that I played quite often as a kid. And as you're fighting him, he uses Cole's admin commands to give himself the upper hand. He can give himself classic bead tools, spawn himself gears, jail other players, and even hijack their controls. Cole's admin commands was the admin script back in 2013 when I was a kid, and many hackers at the time would try to inject scripts to give themselves these admin commands. So it's really cool to see this boss fight using those same admin commands. It actually feels like we're fighting a Roblox exploiter from 2013, and I think the devs did a great job with this boss fight. While most of Blade Ball doesn't feel very classic at all, this boss definitely brings this game up to a C tier. But because the boss is only a small fraction of this game, I can't justify ranking it any higher than that. Now for Adopt Me. In Adopt Me, you need to find some tickets scattered around the map, and you also raise a teapot to get the tokens. That's, well, pretty much all there is to it. There's really no classic references in this game whatsoever, aside from, I guess, the small structure where you meet the NPC that gives you the teapot pet, but that's really not much of anything. For this event, you basically just play Adopt Me like normal, which is far from classic. F tier. Up next, we have Toilet Tower Defense. For this game, they added the original Crossroads map, and you must complete a handful of quests on that map. There's also another boss fight with 1x1, with the first phase being its more known form, and for the second phase, he transforms into his true original form. They also added the classic cameraman, who can use a wide variety of classic Roblox items to defeat incoming toilets. Pretty neat references, but other than that, the gameplay is about the same as it always is in Toilet Tower Defense. this game also gets a C tier. Moving on to Bed Wars. Firstly, I'd like to preference that I think Bed Wars got a lot of unnecessary hate for their event integration. While I think the challenge definitely should have been nerfed for newer players, I think one difficult challenge is far more enjoyable than the grindy, time-consuming quests that other games would consider challenges. And once you get a good team and you're able to plan and coordinate together, the Bed Wars challenge actually becomes quite fun. But unfortunately for Bed Wars, that's not what this tier list is about. We're looking for whether or not the game feels classic, and in Bed Wars' case, I really don't see much of anything here. You defend yourself against a horde of penguins, which feels kind of random. I'm not exactly sure what penguins have to do with classic Roblox. And other than that, it's just normal Bed Wars gameplay. To their credit, the terrain and the building blocks seem to have that classic Lego texture rather than the game's usual Minecraft-like textures. So I guess for that, we can put the game in D tier, but I don't really see any classic Roblox here outside of the textures. Up next is Beestorm Simulator. For this game, you start off in a hub world which consists of several classic Roblox landmarks where you can find some tickets. And then for the main gameplay, you need to defend the hives against incoming slimes and zombies. Defeating enemies and gathering honey will net you points, which you can spend on a wide variety of classic Roblox gear that you can use to your advantage. Honestly, I have no critiques for this game. The map and the atmosphere feel very classic, and it feels nostalgic to use all of the old Roblox gears to defend yourself against enemies. You can even use the trowel to build walls to block the enemies, which is really unique. This game feels very classic. S tier. In Clip It, you visit a handful of classic Roblox landmarks while hunting down many classic figures, such as the Builder Man, the Guest, John Doe, and 1x1. These maps do a great job at making the game feel quite classic. The only problem is that the UI is still very modern, and a lot of the classic figures you need to find actually aren't in the classic maps, but rather they're in these dark facilities for some reason. But this game gets a B tier for all of the classic maps that they brought back. Up next, we have Driving Empire, and I'm gonna be honest, when it comes to portraying classic Roblox, I actually think this game did a good job. The event itself takes place in the 2013 default map that I played around in all the time when I was a kid, and it was so much fun just being able to drive through this map again after so long. And on top of that, you're able to challenge Builderman to a race, which is pretty damn fun the first time you do it. This game also has a handful of retro cars that you can buy if you grind enough points to get them. If only the grind in question wasn't super long and tedious. Anyway, this is probably my nostalgia bias talking, but when it comes to portraying classic Roblox, I'm actually going to put this game in A tier. It's just a shame that a game with this much nostalgia had a long and tedious quest with a pay-to-win gate pass to get it done slightly faster. Many newer players are going to associate this classic map with Driving Empire's god-awful quest, and that honestly breaks my heart. Arsenal, like always, did a great job in their event integration. You make your way through a map, killing NPCs until you eventually get to the end. The map itself feels very similar to classic Roblox, with a handful of obbies that you need to complete, including a flood escape section, which is a really nice reference. There's even a pick-a-path section where you have to shoot bullets at the paths to find the correct one, which is a super unique take on the classic concept. You also get a handful of classic weapons such as the rocket launcher, the slingshot, and the dodgeball. And the NPCs you fight are also references to classic Roblox, such as the noobs, the guests, and the zombies. We even have the classic Roblox UI in here while still feeling like Arsenal. Overall, Arsenal did a great job, and aesthetically, I have no complaints. S tier. And now I have a confession to make. I didn't actually play Dragon Adventures during the classic event. I wanted to give each game a try, but with a mere 5 days for this event, there simply wasn't enough time for me to get around to this one. So I'll have to look at other people's gameplay to rank this one. And to be honest, there doesn't seem to be much of the classic Roblox aesthetic to be found here. You mostly just fly around the game's several worlds, finding classic eggs, and then eventually breaking a classic meteor. To be fair, these meteors do seem to have the classic Roblox textures and sound effects. And as you break these meteors, you do also unlock classic accessories that you can equip on your avatar. So at least there's some effort to include classic Roblox, but it's quite minimal. D tier. Dress to Impress seems to have one of the more enjoyable quests in this event, but how does it hold up in terms of portraying classic Roblox? Well, first you need to collect 10 tickets throughout the lobby and the dressing room. This is basically just normal gameplay, nothing here. Once you get all 10 tickets, you can go through a portal which will bring you to an obby where you can find the 5 tokens. And this obby actually does a pretty okay job at portraying classic Roblox. It's got the classic Roblox health bar and username, It's got the classic spawn platforms, and the entire obby is covered in the classic LEGO texture. Admittedly, a lot of the assets in this obby seems to be from Dress to Impress, which for me personally pulls me out of the classic aesthetic, but at the same time, it allows the game to stand out and feel a bit more unique from your typical obby. I'll put this game in C tier. Moving on to Livetopia. In Livetopia, you buy items and deliver those items to NPCs around the map. Do this 15 times and you unlock a horse for some reason. That's all there is to this quest. Nothing about Livetopia's integration feels classic whatsoever. All you're doing is just driving around the map. Many people dislike this game for its tedious quest, and for this tier list, it seems to be lacking the classic aesthetic as well. F tier. Gunfight Arena did a great job at portraying classic Roblox. For this quest, you have a number of classic maps to choose from, with a handful of tickets scattered throughout. Collect enough tickets and you'll unlock 5 different classic weapons that you'll need to get kills with. The paintball gun, the slingshot, the dodgeball, the bomb, and the rocket launcher. All 5 of these weapons have a classic feel to them and are all fun to use in their own unique way. If I had to critique this game's aesthetic, I'd say maybe the UI feels a bit too modern, but it's really not that big of a deal, and this game felt very classic. Gunfight Arena gets a solid A tier. Up next is A Dusty Trip. In this game, you get in your car and you have a road trip, visiting several iconic Roblox landmarks throughout your journey and fighting your way through several classic enemies such as pirates and zombies. At the end of your trip, you arrive at Roblox HQ and you have a boss fight against 1x1. This game is on top of most tier lists and this one is no exception. The entire map feels like old Roblox, and visiting all these classic landmarks was quite a nostalgic treat. The enemies you encounter are all from classic Roblox, and the food you find also has those hilarious Roblox sound effects. And of course, this game has the classic Roblox UI where messages pop up right in the middle of the screen. The devs did a fantastic job creating this, and much like Roblox Doors, this game is a prime example of how a brand new game can feel like an old one while still keeping the core gameplay intact. A Dusty Trip gets an easy S tier. Restaurant Tycoon 2 is another game that I sadly did not get around to playing, so once again, I'll have to make a judgment based on other YouTube videos. It seems that for this game, you find the 10 tickets by visiting classic Roblox landmarks around the map. And then to get the tokens, you must serve 150 classic customers that might randomly show up at your restaurant. Serving these customers will also unlock some classic food items that you can cook for future customers. While the quest itself is quite tedious, it seems like the game itself did a pretty good job at portraying classic Roblox, including a handful of retro landmarks you can visit. The classic food items are also a nice touch as well. B tier. And for our last game, we have Tower Defense Simulator. The quest for this game is quite simple. Survive through 5 levels to get the 5 tokens. And as someone who isn't really into tower defense games, this game was surprisingly fun to play through. But in terms of portraying classic Roblox, it does an okay job. While the maps themselves seem to be completely unique, they do still have that classic LEGO texture to them, which gives the maps a familiar feel. This game's 5 levels also have an overarching story of 1x1 attempting to take over Roblox through dialogue boxes as you play. Unfortunately, the game's UI covers those dialogue boxes half the time, so you can't really read the story. But overall, the gameplay is mostly the same as it normally is. While it's certainly fun, the classic portrayal here is so-so. This game is going in C tier. And with that, we've ranked every single Roblox game in the classic event based off of how classic they felt. As mentioned previously, this is still my opinion, so let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. It only takes a second to do so, and you can always unsubscribe later. Cheers!